Overheat rocks Talonflame, we send out Dragonair and able to get a very nice energy lead. The opponent sends out Shadow Primeape, a terrifying Pokemon that needs to be respected. Dragonair instantly going to put up that Protect Shield, blocking up the incoming Rage Fist. The opponent, much like myself, has 2 shields to hide behind. We're going to fire off the Wrap. Wrap going to have a 100% chance to debuff their defense. Primeape, invest that Protect Shield, look to reach the next Rage Fist. They don't get there. Dragonair gets that farm down and just Stunfisk remains. The Pancake going to fire off the Mud Bomb, and I'm going to burn the final Protect Shield. We've got Kanto Ninetales around as a potential 3rd shield, but Dragonair looking to put the team on its back. 1 Dragon Breath and the Aqua Tail. It's going to be a race. Dragonair able to win the charge attack priority, reaching the next Aqua Tail, and sweeps the entire team. GG's, and thanks for playing. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a banger of a battle submission from my fellow PvP Fight Club admin, Dark Answer, aka Vince. Whenever we have a new season in Go Battle League, with all the move updates, Vince always puts these new Pokemon to work, and I'm always fortunate enough to receive the battle submission. He is running a triple buff team with Kanto Ninetales, Dragonair, and Fortress respectively. I'm sure by now you've seen numerous videos on Fortress, so that's not really the featured Pokemon today. Both Ninetales and Dragonair, once upon a time in the Go Battle League, were quite meta relevant. Even on the play Pokemon scene, I believe King's wife Cindy either won a regional or come very close, definitely reached top 3 with the Ember Shadow Ninetales, and nowadays it's doing even more damage than it did back in them days. Dragonair over the seasons has also had play, not only in GBL but again in the play Pokemon scene, with the ability to just essentially Dragon Breath the shit out of things in the 2 shield scenario. Dragonair now has a new party trick. Wrap this season is an Icy Wind clone, but the only difference is rather than debuffing the opponent's attack, you actually debuff their defense, meaning that Dragon Breath chunks even harder than before. Today's video, much like my last upload, is going to be a video of 2 halves. Firstly, we're going to have Vince showcasing 2 sets of his team. For the latter half of the video, I'm going to be using his team and seeing if I can have success. I think this brings great value to content. Firstly, it's not always so easy just to copy and paste the team and have the same success the creator did. And secondly, you can get my actual opinion on whether these Pokemon are any good or not. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, Vince is going to lead Ninetales into Clodsire. You can see Vince is opting for Scorching Sands. I personally am opting for a full fire moveset because I think Overheat is a busted move. Whether you resist it or not, trust me, it's going to hurt. Vince stays in, fires off the Scorching Sands, instantly rocking Clodsire. Down to around the 3rd health, Vince going to respect a potential Earthquake. The opponent takes the opportunity to go for a cheeky Master Betting session, throw in the Sludge Bomb, they then pivot into Legaue, far too thicky, and Fortress hits the field of play. This is the first time I've seen Shadow Fortress, to be honest. I've kind of dodged all the videos people have uploaded, and I think most people have actually opted for the regular, but you can already see these Shadow Bug Bites, when Bug Bite is now a Dragon Breath clone, is doing disgusting damage to one very thick Pokemon. Vince was able to land the Rock Tomb, debuffing Legaue far too thicky's attack, meaning we're able to survive the Shadow Ball and then get the Bug Bite farm down. Back out comes Clodsire, able to get the Sting down. Ninetales re-enters the arena, wastes no time, fires off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball finally strips the shield away from the opponent. They are going to need to full send an Earthquake to remove Ninetales from the field of play. Vince instantly no shield, the opponent goes for the Sludge Bomb. We send out Dragonair and unfortunately unable to snipe before the next Sludge Bomb's reached. Vince invests the final Protect Shield. He's able to get the Dragon Breath farm down, and the opponent sends out the Angry Alligator. Dragon Breath already insanely oppressive. The opponent has a shield, but you cannot shield quick moves. Wrap does force that final Protect Shield, and look at the Dragon Breaths go. Dragonair is outside of Hydro Cannon range. The opponent recognises that, full send the Ice Beam. Ninetales re-enters the arena, has enough health to outpace to the Weather Wall, and Vince will be off to a 1-0 start. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see an awful lead, and this Marowak's actually purified, so Vince, I expect you to win this battle, buddy. We cannot lose to a purified Pokemon. I'm just kidding, but at least expect you to run it close. When I saw this team submission from Vince, I said, what the bloody hell do we save switch? And he said Fortress. I personally wouldn't save switch Fortress. I don't really think you should save switch anything with a double weakness. However, in this battle, it's kind of working out for Vince, as our Fortress save switch is unanswered. The opponent shielded the first Sand Tomb, the second Sand Tomb rocks them deep into the red health range. Vince sends out Dragonair, Dragonair able to get the snipe and a cheeky energy lead. Out comes Lapras, surprisingly still on this legacy quick move of Ice Shard. Once upon a time, you used to have to Elite TM to get this move, however nowadays it just runs Sidewave. It's objectively better in most scenarios. I say most scenarios because it's pretty good into this matchup. I'm not entirely sure why Vince is staying in, but we're going to let him cook. He's going to fire off the Aqua Tail. At -1, Aqua Tail should be removing Lapras from the field of play. It comes very close, one further Dragon Breath, gets that knockout. We pivot out into Ninetales to greet the Mandibars. I think this is definitely where we're going to miss Overheat. I think Vince is still going to win this battle, however it's just going to take a lot longer as we're going to have to go for Death by Weather Ball spam, and Mandibars, the very annoying bulky Vulture, should be able to survive too. I think I'm actually wrong in that calculation, and look at the Ember damage. You can really see the buff in this matchup. Mandibars is just a bloody tank, but these Embers are making quick work of their never-ending HP. Vince fires off the next Weather Ball, able to Ember farm down, and even one shield flex, heading into the next battle. We found ourselves another problem. This entire team gets clapped by Azumarill. I guess this is why Vince is opting for Scorching Sands. He's going to fire after Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands goes unshielded, and unfortunately we don't see the attack drop come through. I guess the team's Azumarill answer is going to be Fortress, as I was going to say it will fully wall the typical moveset, but this absolute mad lad is running Hydro Pump. Oof, I did not see that coming. Vince fires off the next Scorching Sands, and despite investing in Protect Shield, he's still going to lose this opening matchup. Ice Beam removes us from the field of play. We send out Fortress, and able to get a nice running start. The opponent sends out Clodsire, and this is definitely going to be a situation where opting for the cheaper debuff move of Sand Tomb over Earthquake might come back to haunt Vince. Vince actually told me he'd rather run Earthquake, but he's probably suffering like a lot of us are with a TM crisis. Scopely, now you're in charge of the company. We know you like to give us paid tickets for everything. Why don't you charge us for some charge TMs? I'm that desperate I'd actually buy some. I'm saying a cheeky 500 coins for 10 charge TMs I would definitely invest, because if I continue to do this sort of content where I try other people's teams, I'm actually going to have to raid, and I have not got time for that. Vince has Dragonair down a Protect Shield versus the world. Outcome superior. We're going to fire off the wrap. Is this now a matchup, or an endgame I should say, that Dragonair can cheese its way through due to the fact that we've debuffed their defense? The opponent fires off the Frenzy Plant that does do more despite being resisted. Vince can now shield. No shot. I think Dragonair is going to close the show. Vince going to shield up the Aerial Ace. Commit to that Dragon Breath farm down. Do we go for the full quick move beatdown, or are we going to opt for double Aqua Tail? Vince goes down the path of double Aqua Tail. The first one forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Vince able to reach the next one. Oof, Dragonair, you absolute monster. I thought we were cooked, but Dragonair pulls off the dub, heading into the next battle. We see Ninetales into Mandibars, a neutral matchup. We've already seen that just 2 Weather Balls are required to knock this thing out, which is absolutely absurd and tells you just how hard these Embers are hitting. Vince tanks the foul play, goes for the correct 1 Ember and the Weather Ball. What I mean by the correct timing is using a 2-turn move into a 3-turn move. You want to throw 1 quick move, 4 or 7. If you're new to the channel, you'll hear me often reference this as optimal timing, and what I mean by optimal timing is giving the opponent as few free turns as possible, which of course is 1. The opponent say switches into Shiny Azumarill, and Vince is able to align his Fortress. This opponent is running the recommended moveset of Ice Beam and Play Rough, meaning we are a complete wall to the charge moves. Despite this boring Slow Bunny being completely walled, I'd highly recommend going for Play Rough as opposed to Ice Beam, as Play Rough is a stab move and it would do more. Vince going to fire off the next Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb looks to remove Azumarill from the field of play. The opponent like, nah, I'm going to invest a Protect Shield. They look for that bubble farm down. Vince able to reach the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb, oh my gosh, the opponent has double shielded Azumarill. Who even uses Azumarill this early in the season, and why would you double shield such a bulky Pokemon? Vince sends back out Ninetales, able to deny the energy with the Weather Ball, removing Azumarill from the field of play. Back out comes Mandibars. Vince is going to invest a Protect Shield. 1 Ember and the next Weather Ball. This Weather Ball probably won't be lethal, but I think we're going to Ember farm down before the opponent reaches another charge move. Vince actually sends out Dragonair. Dragonair able to snipe and get a very nice energy lead. Out comes Galvantula. The opponent doesn't want the smoke and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Aggron in the lead position. This opponent running smackdown. We say switch into Dragonair. Okay, let's just pretend that didn't happen. Moving on to the next battle, we see Dragonair in the lead position. Vince going to say switch into Fortress. Dragonair is pretty good this season, pacing very quickly to these Aqua Tails, taking only 5 acids, then 4. The opponent went for the classic chip and dip action, chipping our Pokemon and then sending out something to hopefully keep the positive alignment they've got. We fire off the Rock Tomb, forcing a shield from Dusknoir. Dusknoir going to fire off the Shadow Punch, looking to remove Fortress from the field of play, and they do exactly that. Ninetales re-enters the arena, but is going to get outpaced. Ninetales could potentially throw a Scorching Sand at Dragonair, but that's just an atrocious matchup. Vince going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball with the additional fast move pressure will be removing Dusknoir, and let's hope Dragonair is good against whatever's in the back. Out comes Dugong, certainly not what Dragonair hoped to see, but this game isn't quite over yet. Potentially we can cheese our way through this matchup, or we can farm down Dugong and throw the Scorching Sand. Either one would give us a chance of winning this game, but Vince settles for the Aqua Tail, Aquatail isn't lethal, but unfortunately Ninetales is about to get debuffed. We actually get denied coming in as well. Come on, man, it's season 23. Fix this bloody game. The opponent actually full send a drill run. Okay, we're not debuffed. We're still not debuffed. Can we reach the Scorching Sands? Unfortunately, we cannot. The opponent recognised their win con, was no baits required, and we take a heartbreaking loss. Heading into the next battle, what the heck is this on my screen? Hatterini, I don't even know what moves that thing lands. The opponent say switches into Greninja and Dragonair hits the field of play. Hatterini, man, that's a pick. The opponent here makes a mistake. They go for the Hydro Cannon. I think it's a common misconception in this community that resisted Hydro Cannon does more than a Night Slash. When there's one stage of typing effectiveness, it does not. It does exactly the same damage. I always say, feel free to fact check me on PV Poke. Speaking of mistakes, we see numerous there. Vince played to the CMP side, he did not win. The opponent then shielded when they're never reaching another move. This, of course, is the early ranks, and there's all kinds of madness going on in this battle. Speaking of madness, out comes Maractus. If you asked 100 people to guess what's in the back, 0 would have suggested that. I don't think I've ever seen this thing in the Go Battle League, outside of people running it for Calamonto's Battle of Spice. Back out comes Hatterini. We're going to fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. We go for the wham, bam, combo play. Fire off the Weather Ball, and we take that game. But shout out to that opponent. That team was a madness. Heading into the next battle. We see Gardevoir in the lead position. The opponent say switches into Pidgeot, and we send out Fortress. This isn't really the best counter switch, to be honest. The Bug Bites are resisted, whereas we're taking neutral from all the flying damage. This is actually a Legacy Wing Attack Pidgeot. Unfortunately, if you invested in Elite TM, I'm very sad for you, as Legacy Gust is objectively better nowadays after that Wing Attack nerf. Vince's opponent here going full degen. They actually threw the Feather Dance at Fortress, meaning we're able to tank it, winning the mid-game matchup. They send back out Gardevoir. They're looking for that full tap-tap, charm down, farm down, which they're able to get, but at the cost of a majority of their health. Back out comes Ninetales. Gardevoir probably only reaching one move, so we may as well respect it. The opponent go for the triple axle, looking to vamp up their charm damage, but that simply doesn't do much of anything. Out comes Shiftry. The opponent run for the hills, and we're heading into the next battle. We see someone else testing out buff Dragonair. This one is the regular variant. I'm sure numerous people are thinking, can I use the regular over the Shadow? Of course you can. However, I think Dragonair is kind of a degen Pokemon, so you may as well use the Shadow to get the most out of it, where that Dragon Breath with the Shadow bonus will really start shredding through Pokemon. Speaking of shredding through Pokemon, look at the Bug Bite damage tear through Umbreon. What the heck is in the back? You're going to counter switch Umbreon into our Fortress. I guess we'll find out shortly. Vince sends in Ninetales. Can we now Ember farm down? Come on, buffed Ember in Ninetales, I believe. Vince looks for that farm down, unfortunately unable to get it before the next Dark Pulse is reached. This won't be lethal, but potentially the opponent can snipe. The opponent does try that snipe. Vince sees it, saves Ninetales, banking all the energy, and sends out Dragonair. We are able to fast move beat down the opposing Dragonair, but at a cost of half our HP, and it now kind of makes sense why they sent out Umbreon, as what they've got in the back is even worse into Fortress. While Grumpy was pretty good last season, I don't think this is the meta for it. We're able to force both Protect Shields with the Aquatail. Vince has all this energy banked. We're actually at double Weather Ball, so if the first isn't lethal, the second certainly will get the job done, and Vince will be emerging victorious. GG's, and thanks for playing. Whilst Umbreon is still alive, have no doubt one Ember will knock it out, and we're going to head into the next battle. Uh-oh, Mr. Opponent, you're in trouble. They lead Sizzle into our Ninetales. They say switch into Greninja, and let's see if this opponent recognises that Night Slash is the way to go. The opponent does go for the Night Slash. The reason it's the way to go, firstly it's cheaper, it does the same damage as Hydro Cannon, and does have a 12.5% chance to give you the boost. Vince shields up the next Night Slash, fires off the Wrap. Wrap goes unshielded, and I think that's a good no-shield from the opponent. If they shield, we probably Dragon Breath farming down before they reach another move. Back out comes Caesar. Caesar going to be greeted with the Aquatail. The opponent surprisingly shield. I don't think I'd shield that, as you're just going to be dead weight against the returning Ninetales. The opponent bank their energy, send out Clodsire. Clodsire greeted with the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands goes unshielded, and Fortress hits the field of play. Both Stone Edge and Earthquake were hit for neutral. Bug Steel is a monstrous defensive typing, only having one weakness, but that just so happens to be a double weakness to fire. Vince wastes no time, going straight for the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. We see the instant no shield from Vince. The opponent is going to have to full send an Earthquake, which they do, but Ninetales going to re-enter the arena and essentially fast move beat down everything. You don't normally shield the first Night Slash in case they get the boost, but have no doubt they're only reaching one move. Back out comes Clodsire. Vince at the Weather Ball, and Weather Ball is going to be enough to pick up the dub. GG's. For the remainder of the video, we're going to see me attempt to navigate Vince's team. I've made a few adjustments. Firstly, my Fortress is running Rock Tomb and Earthquake, and my Ninetales in a full fire moveset with Ember, Weather Ball and Overheat. In the first battle, Jamie Finn is the algorithm confirmed. The opponent save switches into Jellicent. I don't really know what to do here, but I'm actually able to make a catch onto Dragonair. Surf doesn't do much of anything. Likewise, my charge moves also won't do much either. Whilst I don't particularly need switch advantage, both my Pokemon do alright into Scizor. I am going to fight for switch because the opponent likely has two very hard fire answers. If you're going to run Scizor, you need two answers for that double weakness. Like an absolute degenerate, I fire off the double resisted wrap. I'm able to Dragon Breath farm down before they reach another charge move. Back out comes Scizor, we fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail does a huge chunk of damage. Switch timers are misaligned. I did stay in and make a catch, so I'm going to wait out my clock before sending in Ninetales. Ninetales hits the field of play. There is that second fire type counter in the form of the Pancake. You better believe we're full sending the OV right off the bat. We're able to land the nuke, and that is literally going to be all she wrote. What is the opponent going to do? They fire off the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb doesn't do much of anything. The opponent concedes the match with two shields intact. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow and Shadow Crime with Kanto Ninetales into Dust Noir. The opponent's going to strike first, throwing the charge move on alignment. Using a 3-turn move into a 2-turn move, it's really easy to throw at good timing. All you've got to do is throw on an odd number. I think I'm only reaching one move, so I may as well YOLO the OV. Was that necessary? Not really. But we're going to throw it regardless. I'm now going to send out Dragonair, go for the one shield, Dragon Breath farm down, and leave with residual energy good to go. The opponent actually not wanting to concede a farm down, opt to pivot out into Dusclops. We're going to farm up, look to catch an Ice Punch onto Fortress. Were we successful, or was the opponent baiting? Thankfully they weren't baiting. That Ice Punch literally healed us. You might think this isn't the best matchup for me, as Ghost does resist Bug, but you can see despite Dusclops being insanely bulky, the Bug Bites are still chunking. We've got the higher attack as well, so we're able to fire off this Rock Tomb, debuffing them before the next Shadow Punch is reached. I know I survived this charge move, and my take on this team is save all the shields for Dragonair and hope just to Dragon Breath everything to death. Although out comes Gligar, the opponent once again give up switch advantage. We throw in the Aqua Tail, the opponent looks to call the Rat Bait, and at this point we're just going to fast move beat down everything. I'm going to shield up the incoming Aerial Ace. Nothing has the energy required to reach a charge move. Everything will get Dragon Breath farmed down, and Dragonair, the absolute degenerate pick, is going to force the opponent to concede the match. GG's. Heading into the next battle, this time we see Stunfisk in the lead position. Of course, Mod Bomb would hit for super effective. Vince told me we're going to say switch Fortress, so I'm going to send it out. You'd see that Vince didn't get punished by a fire type, but of course, out comes the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. And this is why I do not say switch something with a double weakness. We are so far behind in this battle. I'm going to send back out Ninetales. Despite my moves being fully walled, you better believe Overheat is going to clap. Thankfully, the opponent only throw a fly. If they would have Brave Bird, I would have been straight in and straight out. I fire off two Embers and the Overheat. Overheat rocks Talonflame into the red, and I'm able to snipe with Dragonair, getting a cheeky energy lead. Out comes Shadow Primate, an absolutely terrifying Pokemon. Whilst Rage Fist does have a 100% chance of vamp up your attack. If I tank one, I'm just going to die to fast moves. I invest that Protect Shield, throw the Wrap. The opponent has two shields, but what you can't shield is fast moves. The opponent invests the Protect Shield. They're unable to reach another move. We're able to Dragon Breath farm down, and just Stunfisk remains. Dragonair looking to put the team on its back. I'm going to shield up the incoming Mud Bomb. I'm going to throw one Dragon Breath and the Aqua Tail. Ninetales is still around and could be used as a third shield. However, we're actually going to pace at the same speed to the next charge moves. Dragonair with the higher attack, able to reach the Aqua Tail, and Dragonair pulls off an epic sweep. GG's, and thanks for playing. Whilst Fortress wasn't a particularly great save switch in this matchup, it kind of worked out for me. Trust the process. In the next battle, we see Drapion in the lead position. Though they're regular variants, I'm more than happy to tank an Aqua Tail. One Aqua Tail won't be lethal, and you better believe I've got Overheat, and I'm not a fan of baiting. We full send. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? No, they don't. Get that Drapion off my screen. Out comes Gator. We pivot into Fortress. Fortress absolutely tearing through Gator with these Bug Bites. This Bug Bite damage is literally sickening. There's actually a regular Gator as well. It's not even the Shadow. Imagine Shadow and Shadow Crime. We fire off the Rock Tomb, forced to Protect Shield. The opponent looking to farm up a boatload of energy. They bank a lot, but they're left with hardly any HP. I'm sure you've realised by now that I'm just going to degenerately, a fast move beat down everything. We send out Ninetales. Ninetales Just going to use the damage sponge. We send out Dragonair. I'm just going to one shield farm down. Then when Gator returned, we're just going to shield whatever they throw. They're not going to be able to throw the Hydro Cannon bait into an Ice Beam before they get fast move beat down. The opponent recognised that play and they concede the match. I'm really not a fan of fast move pressure, but you can tell it's effective. Heading into the next battle, I think this is a great example of why sometimes when you see someone else's team, you don't always have success. We see a great lead. The opponent save switches into Drapion. I should just go straight away to Fortress, but I'm unfamiliar with the matchup. What I actually end up doing is staying in for some chip and dip. We invest the protection on the Aqua Tail. The Weather Ball goes unshielded. This is going to set up a Bug Bite farm down for my Fortress, but I am now down a Protect Shield, which is never great. This is sometimes how it goes. When you're playing someone else's team, you don't really know what you want to do against certain matchups. When you build your own team, you've kind of got an idea on how you want it to function. Back out comes the opposing Fortress. We land the Rock Tomb. The opponent is going to have to throw energy or reach one further. The opponent recognises that and do opt to throw. Let's see what they end up throwing. It's just a Sand Tomb, which we're able to survive, but unfortunately they do Bug Bite farm down before we reach another charge move. We send back out Ninetales and out comes Lapras. Once again, we are going to go some chip and dip, and here again I'm undecided on what I want to do. I'm thinking, do I save the shield for Ninetales, do I commit to fast moves, or do I throw a charge move? Opt to throw the Aqua Tail, recognising at this point the opponent kind of needs to shield everything. This is now tricky. What do I shield? I think I'm going to shield here and try and force some energy off Fortress. The opponent goes for the Sparkling Aria bait. This again can only be a Sparkling Aria, and it's going to come down to quick moves. Back out comes Fortress, and again I'm opting to throw. Thinking, hopefully at worst, the opponent only reaches Sand Tomb. I send out Ninetales, try to snipe. The snipe attempt unsuccessful. The opponent actually reached the Rock Tomb. We survive. The opponent Psywave farm me down. Psywave farm down Dragonair. And that game wasn't particularly well played and I deserved to lose. GG's to that opponent. The first set with the team, we somehow went 4-1. I'm not entirely sure how, as I don't really understand this team whatsoever and I'm super uncomfortable safe switching Fortress. In the next battle, we see Azumarill in the lead position. We are ABA weak to this thing, so I'm going to opt to stay in, fire off the Overheat. Overheat, force the Protect Shield. We pivot into Fortress, and once again we are hard punished. Vince, how did you get away with it, buddy? Every time I say switch this bloody thing, out comes a fire type. Of course, we're just going to send back out Ninetales. We're actually going to fire off the Weather Ball, whilst Weather Ball won't be lethal. It should put it in a range where Dragonair can Dragon Breath farm down. And we're going to hope that Dragonair, with a 2-1 shield advantage, can sweep. But the issue for me is Azumarill has banked a shit ton of energy, and I've got no idea how I'm going to deal with it if I'm being brutally honest. I guess my win con would be the opponent shielding the first wrap, but look how healthy they are. That is never happening. Or potentially I need the opponent to make a mistake. We invest the Protect Shield, blocking up the Ice Beam. The opponent's already at the second Ice Beam. We are going to shield. What do we need in the back to have any chance of winning? The opponent stays in. We are going to start unleashing the wrap. We really need this to force a shield, but the opponent clearly never shielding that move. They then pivot out into Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. I'm going to farm up as much energy as I physically can, but we're never outpacing that Azumarill to 2 moves. Aqua Tail goes unshielded. Azumarill re-enters the arena. They're able to outpace to the Ice Beam, and this one also going to end in defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Stinkaton in the lead position. Yes, I did call this thing Stinkaton. The opponent saves switches into Dugong. Here, you should throw 6 in the move. However, I actually end up over-tapping. So we throw on 7, giving the opponent far more free energy than I require. However, we're going to farm up and look to catch a Drill Run onto Fortress. And then at this point, after chipping, we can fully Bug Bite farm down. This opponent's actually on Liquidation. I'm going to shield this up. Whilst the Liquidation with a debuff defense won't be lethal, it'll do objectively more than whatever Tinkaton can do to me if it wishes to return to the arena. Back out comes Tinkaton, aka Stinkaton, and we are full 10 in the Earthquake. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oof! Non-stab, almost a one-hit KO, but not quite. Even at -1, I should survive a Bulldoze, or at least I was anticipating doing that, as my Fortress has very good IVs, but unfortunately that isn't the case. We send out Dragonair with a Fairy type out the way. Dragonair should be free to roam. ABA Fairy. You might ask, why am I going to throw this wrap? Because the opponent's kind of obliged to shield. We're going to force the shield here, pivot into Ninetales. Of course, I'm never going to shield the first Psychic Fangs, and this game is very simple. 4 quick moves in the first Weather Ball, 1 quick move in the next Weather Ball, and ABA Fairy is not beating me today. The first Weather Ball forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, debuffed. Have no doubt the second Weather Ball is going to be all she wrote, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see a battle of fire types, Ninetales into the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death. The opponent can hit for neutral, whereas we're fully walled in this matchup. If the opponent want to Brave Bird me, be my guest. We're going to call the Flame Charge or Fly Bait. The opponent throws a Fly. we're going to fire off 2 Embers and full send the overheat. This is resisted damage. Do you think it's going to look resisted? No, it does not. Ninetales able to win that 0 shield matchup. The opponent sends out Drapion. Rather than concede a farm down, Fortress hits the field of play. With the fire type out the way, this time I'm more than comfortable to switch out Fortress. I don't think ABA fire is going to be too common. You might see it, but it's highly unlikely. We tank the crunch, fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb forces the Protect Shield and debuffs their attack. Once again, I'm going with a strategy of 2 shielding the oppressive dragon and hoping to absolutely degenerate beat down whatever they've got in the back. Is it going to work out for me? Let's see. The opponent fire off back-to-back Aquatails, removing me from the field of play. Dragonair enters the arena. The opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, send out Clodsire. Dragonair with a 2-to-1 shield advantage, very, very comfortable in this matchup. The opponent throw the Stone Edge. Of course I'm shielding. I'm just going to shield whatever they throw at this point. I fire off the Aquatail. Aquatail forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. I've still got a shield intact, but Ninetales is going to be used as the 3rd shield, essentially putting the final nail in this opponent's coffin. Stone Edge picks up the knockout. We see that Clodsire is still on the screen. We throw in the middle of the Poison Sting. Aquatail lands on its intended target, and I think the opponent's rage quit the app. Dragonair picks up the knockout. We're going to Dragonair farm down Drapion, and that is just about going to be it for today's Shoutcast. Huge shout out to Vince for submitting this very fun team, despite it not making too much sense. Of course, we're on like day 3 of the seasons. Teams don't need to make sense. We're all just trying stuff out and seeing what from the new update's good. I can't really give my opinion on Fortress, to be honest. We did see a few scenarios where it was super oppressive, like Drapion and Gator. It was definitely putting in work, but as a save switch, would not recommend. I'm actually having a lot of fun at trying other people's teams. If you want to see me give Fortress another go, submit a team with it, a triple shadow team, and I'll try your team, and I'll give my opinion on it. Ninetales, I think we saw examples of just how good it is with the buffed Ember. It's actually able to really put in so much work in neutral matchups, even against some of the bulkiest one of the meta. When Vince had it aligned against Mandibars, I couldn't believe how much damage it did. Highly, highly recommend trying this Pokemon out for yourself. Legacy Ember is absolutely mandatory, as is Weatherball, but the second charge move is kind of up to you. I believe it's Action Run, Psy Shot, which is a pretty good move now. Vince runs Scorching Sand, which is great coverage. I personally think Triple Fire is the way to go. Who cares about typing resistances when you've got a Shadow Overheat? Just YOLO it and it will not disappoint. Lastly, that just leaves me to give my opinion on Dragonair. If you made it through 27 minutes of me yapping, you must have watched this channel before, so you'll know my gameplay and my preferred playstyle. Fast move pressure isn't it, but I've got to admit, Dragonair was a lot more fun than I wanted it to be, and it was very, very effective. That ability to just debuff people's defenses mean you can absolutely tear through Pokemon and make games very fun and very quick. If you like fast move pressure, this is certainly a Pokemon you need to try. It makes battles fly by. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. And also like to see me use your team. My battle submission form is posted down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.